This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
This half hour being brought to you by our great friends at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and out every day. 6 great flavors of slushies. And ready-to-drink cocktails now. Yes, High Noon, Crown Royal, Jack Daniels, and the Pickle Bar led by the Barrels and the Dills, indeed second to none. Joining us from Pinehurst number 2 is Nate Bauer on 3.com Blue White Illustrated. Sir, welcome.
You know I play my golf much closer to home than that.
Look, all I know is that when we're dealing with an elite game, I pick elite courses for elite players.
That's fair. Steve, I don't know if you've experienced this. My scores are getting worse, but I feel like I'm playing better.
Oh, yeah, that's the craziest thing on the face of the earth, where you walk off the course and you'll go, I feel like I hit the ball really well. I don't, like, really?
I've literally convinced myself that I'm a very good golfer, even though my scores are steadily declining due to bad holes here and there. You name it, little rough patches. But I'm having more good shots.
Yeah, where you're like,
right?
That drive feels good. That approach feels good. Yeah, and they're like going, okay, explain to me why. What the heck? I added it up. It didn't add up.
I just had a shot 85.
Yeah.
What's happening?
I know. Yeah.
Anyway, how's your game? You doing well?
Okay, I did something last week I've never done before. You know, I've been playing well. Everything's been fine, going along fine. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, I shot 75.
Hey!
Nice. I'd never had 3 birdies on a round before, and I had 3 of them.
Excellent. That's a moneymaker right there.
I mean, like, I'm done. Like, you know, so I texted my sons, and I said, well, I can only tell you that all I have now is to go down. I said, I'm never getting to this point again, ever.
No, but the mountaintop is nice, isn't it? It's a good view from up there.
Like one of those, like, wow, we not only broke 80, but like, wow. Okay, so eventually I'm going to the Big Ten golf outing with the other announcers in a couple of weeks in Chicago.
Excellent.
Speaking of Chicago, how about that for transition school? You didn't think, and just go to broadcasting class. You know.
I knew we'd get there. You always bring us back.
How about that? Out of nowhere. Yannick Conan Niederhauser. Next stop is the NBA G League Elite Camp. Not surprising that he's there. He's on to the pre-draft stuff down in Florida. He's been doing that. So for Penn State fans out there, just give them just a primer about where he is in this process, because there is a process that leads up to the all-important June 15th date.
Yeah. So, and I'm happy for you to correct me if I get any of this wrong, but effectively, right, Penn State has had players invited to the NBA Combine, right, which is briefly afterwards, right? It's later in May, I guess, maybe.
No, it's right. It's the G League Elite is 9, 10, 11, and right away the NBA Combine starts after that.
Okay,
so they're back to back. That way, if somebody in the elite G League Elite impresses, they can quickly move them over to the other one. So there you have it, right? Is if you are of the caliber that it seems like you will be drafted, you go straight to that NBA Combine. That's right.
Okay,
75 players.
Right. there's 75 players there. Obviously, there are not 75 spots in the draft. So there are more invited there than are drafted in the first place. There are a few spots, right? I'm not exactly sure on the number, but there are a handful of spots that if somebody performs really, really well at the G League Elite Camp, they can then transition, like you just said, into that NBA Combine. So for Yannick, it's good, right? All of these things are valuable experiences for him. He will have decisions to make, ultimately. June 15, I think, is what you said is the date for deciding whether to return to school or to declare for the draft fully. But I don't think that any Penn State fan should read this in any capacity as, oh, no, he's leaving, right? As though there is more interest now than there was a month ago when he made this first announcement. So this is all part of the process, working out for teams, right? Getting individual workouts, going through. You see it on his Instagram. He's been other places. He's traveling around.
Yes,
getting good instruction. Mm-hmm. Excuse me, and obviously this invite to Chicago is good for him.
Look,
he will be able to run through those paces and see where it takes him.
Just so people know, Tony Carr left early, but everybody knew the second he declared he hired an agent and he was done. Seth Lundy had another year remaining because of COVID, but everybody knew when he declared he was done. Taylor Battle's the last one I can remember going through the process. And people were like, oh, what's he going to do? What's he going to do? And he worked out for a bunch of teams.
Yeah.
And then eventually came back.
Did Lamar go to the Combine? I can't remember.
I don't think he did. I don't think Lamar was the NBA Combine deal. He ended up being a free agent, and then it's worked out great for him. He's still in the league with Memphis.
Yeah, very much so. In any case,
but here's the other part: the G League salary is $40,500.
Yep.
Right. NIL anybody?
Yeah. It is, and I was talking about this the other day. It's created this intermediary minor league out of thin air that is legitimate, and in some ways is a better situation than the pros. Yeah. Right? It's dependent, right? You see this with some NFL guys, where it becomes more appealing to come back to school, wherever that school is, right? It doesn't just have to be Penn State. But yeah, look, the win for Penn State on the front end of this, and remains the win for Penn State, is that he didn't enter the transfer portal.
That's exactly right. That was the April 22nd date.
Yep. So if he comes back to Penn State, and there is every reason to believe that he will, or I should say, if he comes back to school, if he continues to play college basketball,
right,
it'll be at Penn State. That's a huge win for the Penn State basketball program as it moves forward into year 3 with Mike Rhodes.
Well, with year 3 coming up, so we'll put Yannick aside in his own box for a moment. All right, they have taken a very deliberate and non-public as to who's visiting and who's not. They've decided not, but they're just going to keep it closed. How important do you think it's been for Penn State from their point of view, from Mike's point of view, that they've gone about it this way?
I think he thinks it's extraordinarily important, and
yes.
I don't have an argument against it. Right? I've experienced different approaches, right, through my career. I'm sure you have as well.
Yep.
Where it's fine, right? It's okay. It's public knowledge. In fact, some coaches like the attention, right? To kind of rally the troops, where you report somebody is coming in for a visit, and whoever it is, wherever they go, people already recognizing them, right? Having anticipated their visit. I think that Mike's stance is that Yannick is a perfect example, is that they believe very thoroughly in their scouts. They believe that their scouts and how they project players to fit at Penn State may be different and a leg up on some competition. And so because of that, it's actually funny. On the early side of all of this, right, the early side of the kind of transfer portal and some of the early players that they were looking at, a lot of that stuff was public in the first place just because the players and their agents make it public.
That's right.
Right? That Penn State's reaching out, right? All of those things. But, internally, that's not really how they operate, or that's not how they want to operate. And so, it creates an interesting dynamic where I'm sure you are in the same boat as me. You hear things, right? There's some names out there, some approaches that I think I'm aware of, but until they get these guys kind of across the finish line, they are secretive with intention.
I mean, to be honest with you, the way I look at it, I mean, let's put Yannick back on the Penn State roster for a moment. Whether it's portal or someplace further east of here.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes, correct.
I think that, to me, a minimum of 4 more guys.
Yeah.
Because that gets you to 12. Mike, I didn't sense Mike wanted to go beyond 13 anyway.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that, look, even last year they only carried 14, right? So you're permitted 15, and a couple of things that just to spell out more clearly what you just hinted at. Further east, I asked him in his year-ending press conference about recruiting internationally, and they like it. Yep. Right? Bragi is a guy who didn't pan out at Penn State, but that was not a mistake, right? They feel as though within this staff, and you can see it based on the resumes of some of his assistant coaches, they have connections in Europe.
Yes, they do.
Right? They have.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. And so there are ways for them to scout a market that, again, to me, it's so important to recognize if you're a Penn State fan. Well, a couple of things. One, across the Big Ten, Illinois had an international kid that played really well this past year.
Yeah,
Michigan had a kid, right? So it is happening other places where it is a bigger stage with better access to NBA scouts playing in the United States for these guys. And so when you can make that fit, it doesn't mean it's always going to work, obviously. And you might have competition in the United States among other colleges that are going for these guys. But you can make a pretty compelling case right now, to try your hand in the United States and get that exposure to NBA scouts.
Well, and here's the other part. When you're out there and you're playing, for example, in Europe, you're playing against men. Okay? You're playing against older players, which benefits you. I want to ask you, in the House settlement, which everybody's trying to become experts on, and I completely understand that because it means so much to the future of what we're seeing.
Yeah.
The NCAA and the conferences don't have a finalized plan yet, but are getting closer to a workable solution to meet Judge Claudia Wilkins' stance that grandfathering of in-roster positions.
Yep.
But what I love is it says it comes with a bevy of questions, concerns, and uncertainties. They don't cost you anything. I mean, what, $20,000? I mean, with everything, something like that between medical and meals or whatever. Right? I know what the problem is. I mean, Nate, the problem is there are teams that have already cut down to 105.
Correct.
Right? And they don't like the fact that somebody else may have 122.
Yep.
That's the problem. People jump the gun.
Yeah, I 100%. And look, I think there was pressure at Penn State to try to do that. And, it's just that Penn State, you've got a guy in James Franklin who is so adamant. I mean, I'm sure you heard his comments after the blue-white game. If there is a more apt sales pitch, right, of what he believes in as a coach and what he believes Penn State, right, as a football program is supposed to be, that was it. And it is, look, this is the essence of college football. These guys have a spot, and they're going to try. He's going to kick, scratch, and claw, whatever the word terminology he used, but he's going to try everything he can to delay that process as long as he possibly can and make sure that there are spots at Penn State for these guys. And, yeah, there were – look, I am not in any capacity envious of Pat Kraft right now, or any athletic director in major college athletics, because not only do you have to add a $20 million budget item, right, of paying players, but you are also paying out back pay, right? There's it's not a fine, but it's a fine, right? Like you've got to scrounge up money in as many different places as you can, because these are significant. Like,
well, it's more than the back pay, Nate. It's actually, to me, it's the additional scholarships. Additional scholarships that you may have to come up with is another $5 to $8 million. It's not $20.5 million. It's somewhere between $26 and $29 million.
And being truthful about this, that they're all, even walk-ons at Penn State are being paid something, right?
Sure.
There's a package.
Sure. There's
a package involved for all these guys. That makes it, right? That was part of the gate, right? Everything's gaming the system to a certain extent. It doesn't matter what the rules are.
Rules?
Right?
Rules?
Right? It doesn't matter. It does not matter. It is, okay, well, now NIL permits you to effectively go beyond the scholarship limit because, yeah, okay, you're not being paid based on what the scholarship costs, but, yeah, that's what you make. So there are costs involved in all of this, and there are concerns involved in all of this, but at the end of the day, the judge has made plain that it's not being approved without these considerations for walk-ons, right? It's bottom line. And so Penn State and I don't know how much credit he's getting and or the recognition of it externally, but James Franklin sticking to his guns in this case will end up proving to be overwhelmingly fortunate for Penn State.
Oh, I think, and look, this is what I think. If I'm going to guess, this will be my educated guess, that the terminology will be that schools can do the roster with current players at their own discretion. And I think that may be what you hear as the solution to this.
Sure. Some of the things that I've seen over the last couple of days make it seem as though she will not approve a deal that does not allow for people to come back, right? Like guys who have already lost into the wind, who have already left their programs.
Yep.
How do you get that toothpaste back into the tube? I'm not sure that you can, but I think that's what she's angling for is, all right, you guys did do this prematurely. Make it work now. Figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think the at your own discretion is going to be the key.
Yep.
I think that you're just looking for terminology. If you have the right terminology, you're going to get it. And I think this is the week that we're going to find out that it's all said and done. And
I hope so. And then it'll be a solid 3 months until another legal challenge comes in that blows all of this up as well.
Oh, it's legal challenges. Oh, let's see. Anybody ever hear of Title IX legal challenge? Anybody ever hear of the of Deloitte being in charge of the clearinghouse. God, legal challenge. I mean, this thing is just filled with them. So you just go along with whatever you got for as long as you can.
we are going to get to a changed employment status of players.
Yes.
When Gino Auriemma is pounding the drum, right? You got these old school guys who have been through it, who have done all of this, right? Who have done it the right way throughout their careers. When those guys start saying, "Hey, this is how it has to be. This is the only way this is going to work," it's going to happen. It will happen eventually, despite the NCAA's best intentions of, kicking and screaming to fight it.
Well, when you're 0 for life in court, you have nothing to stand on. Okay, so that's the NCAA, to their credit, has what you would term a perfect record. All right. So back to the golf course where you can achieve great scores. I just know it.
Thank you. I love it. We don't have any baseball talk today? Like Gambino and the boys?
No, Gambino and the guys are playing great. Men's lacrosse is a 5 seed. It's actually been a fun spring around here.
It has been a very, in fact, hockey with a huge recruiting commitment today.
I saw that. Huge. And now
lots of stuff happening.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff happening. All right, my friend, thank you so much. Appreciate your time as always. We needed somebody to take the show to a new level. We picked you.
Oh, man. Thank you so much, as always. Appreciate being here.
Half hour being brought to you by our good friends at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
You an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Brewers Outlet, Sunbury Motor Company, and Purdy Insurance. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummels Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. So it's yesterday was the 1-year anniversary of me buying my 2024 Ford Explorer, new off the lot at Sunbury Motors. Couldn't have made a better move and could not have gone with a better dealership or people. Stanger was great. Everybody, all the way through. And believe me, I didn't go in there and go, hey, we're going to give them special treatment. They're going to treat all of you the same way. As simple as that. As you know, I'm not one that's big about, hey, here I am. Whoop-de-doo. It's like that's just how they treat everybody. It's great. And you couldn't have asked for a better buying process. And I got exactly what I was looking for. And pressure, the pressure has guided me along. Like, hey, what about this? Okay, this one has this one has that one doesn't have this. Okay. So, what are you thinking about? Okay, came to the purchasing part of it. Hey, I wanted 672, and I got it, bumper to bumper. They made sure that got worked in. By the way, pre-owned inventory, there are plenty of and it's not just Ford, but Kia and Hyundai. Great new inventory with great, by the way, safety features. I mean, new vehicles, the safety features are just tremendous. And not only that, but pre-owned vehicles with the Sunbury Motors guarantee, they go over each one of them, eases the buying experience. And whether it's quick lane, inspections routine, difficult, service department is outstanding. All at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummels Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Okay, so the big stories of the day include the NFL draft goes to Pittsburgh, Point State Park next year, and in 27 to Washington, where it looks like they're going to use the Washington Monument as a backdrop in 27. Now, the Commanders won't get back into D.C. physically until the stadium is finished, and that's probably the 2030 season. And then there's Sharon Moore. There are reports that he's going to be suspended for 2 games because of the Connor Stallions advanced scouting scandal. And the games are picked by Michigan, and they picked games 3 and 4. Okay, well, game 1's New Mexico. Okay, game 2 is Oklahoma in Norman, which happens to be Sharon Moore's alma mater. So they picked games 3 and 4. Central Michigan, ironically, and Nebraska.
I'm trying to decide what would happen if I would have proposed to my parents that I get to pick my own punishment.
I mean, really.
Mom, Dad, I got something to do tomorrow. Could we do Friday and Saturday?
And I can tell you right now, in my house, that never would have happened. Okay?
No.
Okay, with my parents, there was, okay, you ever see the line in the movie The Fugitive where they break into, where the marshals go into a house and finally the criminal is shot and it whizzes by the ear of one of the marshals and he says, I could have been killed. And he says, looks at me, he says, no, you're fine. He says, well, you could have negotiated with him. And he looks at me, he goes, he says, can you hear me now? Leans into me, he goes, I don't negotiate. That was the stance of my parents. There was no negotiation. How about no? How about no? Okay. In fact, it got to the point where you didn't even propose. How about?
I was going to say, usually when the negotiations started, the stuff got worse.
Oh, brutal. I mean, I figured out quickly there was no shot, so I didn't even bother. Okay. I mean, it got to a point where, like, in other words, like, they completely won. I already knew it was like I had no shot. Right here, it's like, well, you've got a group like we're just going to pick my own. You know what? Yeah, I want to go to the party on Saturday. How about today and tomorrow? How about, like, no, you're not going to the party. Okay. So the NBA playoffs lasted. So, and look, the Committee on Infractions meets June 6th and 7th, by the way. And remember, Fordham, which doesn't have the same clout as Michigan, they had suspended Keith for 4 games, and they still got hit. Okay. So that's what they did. And yeah. So that's where they are. Now, I want to talk about the playoffs for a second. Because, look, June 6th and 7th, we'll find out if they go on Michigan or if they pull a Fordham and go hard after them. Because Fordham, they hit pretty hard. But Fordham is not Michigan. In one of the more obvious statements in the history of statements. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. So the NBA playoffs. Okay. So yesterday, Indiana beat Cleveland. Okay. Indiana outscored Cleveland by 30 points. Okay. From the 3-point line. Now, Dick Girardi gave me these numbers, by the way. So Dick texted me. He says the 2 NBA winners yesterday outscored their opponents by 66 points from the 3-point line. Indiana outscored Cleveland by 30 points at the 3-point line yesterday. And last night, Golden State in the 7th game on the road outscored Houston by 36 points at the 3-point line.
And it wasn't Steph either.
No, it was not. Yeah, it was not.
There is nothing worse than watching a guy that struggled horribly for your favorite team go off the next year in the playoffs, man.
I know. So The three-point line, there's a lot of people that just don't like it. I got it. It's changed the game without question. Dunks are still dynamic, but three-pointers are dynamic as well. And Indiana, as Dick texted me, plus 30 points from the three-point line, beat Cleveland. Golden State plus 36 at the three-point line, beat Houston in Game 7. Meanwhile, in the NHL, could they have had more drama this weekend? Game 7, Dallas, Colorado. Colorado's winning the game, 2-0. They're feeling good. And Mikko Rantanen goes crazy in the third period with a hat trick and an assist. They win the game 4-2. It was like unbelievable. It was like watching, suddenly everything got tilted. And Colorado maybe nicknamed the Avalanche, but they must have felt like they got hit by an avalanche. And then there's Winnipeg last night. I mean, I watched the Game 7. I watched the Dallas-Colorado Game 7, and I watched Winnipeg and St. Louis in Game 7 last night. St. Louis has total control of the game last night. They're winning 2-0. Finally, Winnipeg scores. It's 2-1. And then with seconds to go in the second period, St. Louis makes it 3-1. Okay, well, it may be a whiteout there, but it's just silence. And finally, and Connor Hellebuck, who is a Hart Trophy nominee as MVP, he's a Vezina Trophy nominee as the top goalie, has struggled in the series. He got pulled out of 3 games, and he's struggling in this game. Suddenly, he settles into the game. And in the third period, he's stopping shot after shot, and they finally pull him with 2 minutes to go, and with 90 seconds to go, with an empty net and 6 skaters, Winnipeg scores. It's 3-2. You're not going to change up. I mean, they put Hellebuck back in for the face-off. As soon as they got control of the puck, they pulled Hellebuck out again. They attacked, and with 3 seconds to go, they tie the game. Place is going insane. Insane. They go to the first overtime. Binnington and Hellebuck are both terrific in the first overtime. And then in the second overtime, Winnipeg finally scored. They won. I mean, they were the President's Trophy winner during the regular season with the best record. St. Louis had a really good record as well. It's just the way they've got to work out a different playoff system. I mean, one should be playing 8, but that's just me. And it's 2 incredible Game 7s where the home team sends the home crowd into a frenzy with incredible and in some ways improbable comebacks. There's nothing like overtime in the NHL. I'm talking about Stanley Cup overtime in the NHL. Nothing like it. The NBA, you play 5 minutes. College basketball, you play 5 minutes. The NFL, each team gets a possession, you play 10 minutes, right? Or if it's the postseason, you just play it like a regular quarter, and each team gets a possession. Okay? Major League Baseball, each team gets an at-bat and extra innings. And then there's the Stanley Cup, where the next shot could win it. There is nothing like it. And it's really cool. The drama of it. Nuggets Thunder tonight. The Thunder, best team nobody knows a thing about. 68-14 in the year. They are good. They are good. 68-14. And the Celtics play the Knicks tonight. Game 1. The Oklahoma City's at home. They're 35-6 at home this year. That was the regular season numbers. And then the Celtics play the Knicks tonight. That's the first game. So, yeah. Down to 8 in both the NHL and the NBA. And is tonight the night that we officially find out that it's the Utah Mammoth. Why? Because tonight is the NHL Draft Lottery. And there were rumors that this Utah Mammoth leak is actually what they wanted to do for the draft lottery. But we'll see.
Did you get a chance to watch any of the basketball? Or did you watch any of the basketball?
I saw a little bit of the Cavs and Pacers, and I saw a little bit of the Rockets and the Warriors.
It was you and I that talked a little bit Friday about the Thompson twin covering Brunson, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Man, the other one too.
Yeah, no, they're good players.
My heavens.
No, I mean they have their fundamentals. The Thompson twins, their fundamentals are really good.
The one, if Amen learns how to shoot, good heavens.
Yeah.
I mean, he got to the basket at will last night. Plus, you know, they're asking these 22-year-old kids to cover Steph Curry and Jalen Brunson in the playoffs, and they both, I mean, it took Steph Curry until the fourth quarter to get going last night. They both did a great job. Those two are going to be scary.
No, they're really good players. They are remind me both with their length and their ability to guard a lot. Remember Michael Cooper?
Yes.
Who played for the Lakers? Michael Cooper was like that. You know, occasionally would have some really terrific offensive games, but for the most part would have good offensive games, but was always their defensive guy was always on the number one guy. Always.
And I was going to say, that's been the big talk all morning now with the Rockets eliminated. Do they put some of those pieces together, and do they end up with Giannis?
Okay, yeah, they could, because, look, the Rockets are the young team that had a terrific regular season. They get into the playoffs. They gave a very good account of themselves because down 3-1, they could have folded and left, but they have a lot of talent and did not. They won Game 5 at home, and they won Game 6 in San Francisco. All right? And then didn't quite have enough, and really maybe not enough know-how at this point to get through a Game 7. Okay? And that's just a youth thing. 1 year later, and maybe with a different, like a player like Giannis who has won a title and has scored 50 points in a Game 7 with everything on the line. And he scored 50 points in Game 7 to win the championship.
I mean, I feel like that's, you know, it's kind of cliche, but I still feel like in the NBA you need that one guy, and I feel like that's, you know, right now, you know, you know, Amen has that chance in 2 or 3, 4 years, you know, maybe Jalen Green, but man, I feel like with some of those guys from the G League elite that we've kind of, you know, maybe they should have gone to college. We see what the college game does to those guys. There's a little better fundamentally. But I feel like, you know, Jalen Green has some building blocks there too. But he's just, the basketball part of it is a struggle sometimes. The basketball know-how is a struggle sometimes.
Well, if I recall correctly, they have disbanded G League Elite. Right?
Yeah. After last year, because I think they went like 13-50 or something like that in the G League.
Yeah. So they've disbanded it. And look, that's, hey, I realize college isn't for everybody. So, I mean, I understand that. I mean, just in life in general, college isn't for everybody. And it's one thing about basketball as opposed to football. Football, you need to go to college to get to the NFL. You really, that really is your only realistic avenue. But in basketball, I mean, LaMelo Ball didn't go to college. He played in Europe for a year. Right? Look at the guys that have gone to New Zealand and Australia and played for a year and then ended up getting drafted. They all bypass college. Right? There's several players that have done that ended up in the first round. It's one thing in basketball, you have more options. Football, you really don't. So G League Elite, was it G League Ignited was the name of the team?
Yeah, G League United, I think it was.
Right,
Ignite.
G League, okay. G League Ignite.
And Overtime Elite, I think I mixed the two.
Right, G League Ignite. That's because of the G League Elite camp.
Nah.
That Yannickson, that's probably why you said it. But G League Ignite, right, was another avenue to bypass college. Because, again, it's not for everybody. Yeah, just in life in general, it's not for everybody. I mean, I know they've tried to portray it as it's like, it'd be end all, go to college, the whole thing. Yeah. Believe me, you go to trade school and you end up being a plumber, an electrician, or whatever. Guess what? You're never out of work. I mean, you got a job all the time, so these guys, they understand that, and if they get the right advice, I mean, Lonzo Ball went to UCLA. Ended up being the second overall pick. Injuries derailed him. His brother went to Europe, and he's thrived with Charlotte. So,
I did kind of apropos of nothing. I saw somebody made the point that it's interesting. The NBA has handled somebody like a father like LeVar Ball, and it didn't really affect the kids too much.
Yeah.
But the NFL doesn't see that much, and kind of how Dion handled his kids kind of affected them a lot. It's kind of an interesting juxtaposition.
It is. But what's interesting about the NBA draft, though, like take last year's draft. Tell me out of last year's draft that you really know. I mean, Stephon Castle with San Antonio was the 5th overall pick out of UConn, where he was a terrific one and done. He was the NBA Rookie of the Year. Tell me who the guys were that were drafted in front of him.
2 French guys and Reed Shepherd were 3 of them.
Right. They don't help themselves with it. They can talk about play off the international game all they want. They're going to get more publicity from Cooper Flagg being drafted 1st overall than they. Wembanyama was a little bit different. Okay.
He's a unicorn.
Right. But the NBA doesn't get a lot of juice out of their draft because people sit back and go, who? Where? Yeah.
That's the suit every day.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The beverage supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you and thank you for your years of patronage. Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The beverage supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you and thank you for your years of patronage.
There's something to be said about a sale with a handshake, a service technician who really knows what he's doing. They can explain it in English what the problem is. There's nothing better than having that friend you could trust in the area. That's Sunbury Motors, where you get selection, knowledgeable salespeople, and prices that fit your budget, and more important, that friend you can trust. Welcome to Sunbury Motors, Kia, Ford, and Hyundai. You could shop other dealers and compare prices, but at Sunbury Motors, you get their lowest price promise. They research the current used vehicle market and guarantee their used car prices are the lowest. If you find a lower price, Sunbury Motors will beat it. 3 dealers all in one. See their full new and pre-owned inventory at sunburymotors.com. Pick out a vehicle you like and schedule your test drive online. Follow them on Facebook. Sunbury Motors Ford and Hyundai, North 4th Street, Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf.